What's up, Aries? Welcome to your Libra new moon reading. I apologize that it wasn't up before the new moon, but we are talking about the two week or so cycle between the new moon and the full moon, right? Where we're talking about growth and potential and the future. So what we're going to be talking about here is just those Libra new moon energies kind of launched us off, and now we're going to be riding those out until we get to the Taurus full moon next month. So, what are we looking at here for you guys, right? Libra is all about balance. It's about harmony, relationships, justice, beauty, art, all those great things. Six of Swords, central situation, Aries. So, we also have Mercury and Jupiter entering Scorpio, and in about a week or so, a couple days now, tomorrow I think, we're going to be entering Scorpio season. And Scorpio and Aries are very similar. You guys are both... Scorpio used to be ruled by Aries. Scorpio used to be considered ruled by Mars before Pluto was discovered, right? So in a way, you guys were, and in a way still are, kind of sister signs, right? With Scorpio. So when we're in Scorpio season, I feel like it's going to be a really powerful time for you guys. I really feel like what's coming up in this new moon is going to have, and the Jupiter and Mercury, in Scorpio, things are coming up to the surface. Things are having to be faced. A lot of the signs have had to do this thing where they're facing their inner demons, or truths, or relationships that weren't working out, or whatever it may be. They had to do this kind of honest assessment. And for you guys, what I think is really going to be happening for you guys during this moon cycle is an honest assessment. Look, the first card we have, the Six of Swords, moving away from troubled times. The way I've been describing the Libra new moon for the signs, it's you're doing this balancing act so that by the time the moon becomes full, you have this kind of solid foundation to move forward, right? And with the other planetary influences like Aries, I think you're going to have some real honest talks with yourself. You guys have a lot of pride and a lot of ego. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but you do. That's characteristic of your sign and your planet, right? You guys are the take charge, headstrong kind of people who always want to win and want to be the best, right? And sometimes I think that Aries can have a little bit of trouble with introspection, right? Not like you guys are a dishonest sign. I actually think you're pretty honest and pretty loyal. But sometimes with yourself, with that big powerful ego that always needs to be best, I don't think you're always totally in touch with the truth, right? Especially because you're a loyal sign. Sometimes you're not honest about what other people are or what they're showing you, or you make up excuses for people who you care about. So here we go, the Ace of Swords. I'm talking about honesty here. What better card is there to indicate a fresh, sharp, clean mind? This is to me a call for Aries, to get your mind sharp and clear, to be honest. I don't care if it hurts your ego. There's no way that you can grow if you don't if you can't be honest, right? If you can't stand in the truth of a situation. If you're not able to accurately assess yourself, how are you supposed to get better? Right? How are you supposed to be better? If you're surrounded by yes men who just boost your ego up and make you feel good, how are you supposed to be better? So Aries, I think what's going to be important for you for the next 2 weeks is acceptance. Sort of start taking things a little bit at face value right now. Seven of Wands. I normally see this as a kind of good card, the Seven of Wands. He has the energy to fight off. He's on higher ground. He's kind of winning. even though he's like has this onslaught of shit. But with you guys right now, I just feel like this is wasted energy. Like relationships or with people haven't been paying off, or like just like self-induced confusion. Similar to the Eight of Swords, but it's like the Eight of Swords is about like not seeing the truth, and this is not like, this is sort of just like delusion. Like this is you guys like struggling with yourself, and like you're not being honest about why there's this struggle. Like there's a lot of potential in like Scorpio season and with the Taurus full moon for you guys to like have a deeper sense of love or a deeper sense of connection to yourself, or you know, a relationship you're in getting more serious, or whatever it might be. Like there's potential for that. But like I think one of the things you guys do sometimes is like you kind of look for validation. I mean, everybody does, but like that Aries ego that I was talking about, sometimes it's like about how other people see you, right? Like you want to see a certain version of yourself reflected back at you through another person. Hermit. So what I was saying basically was like, you kind of need to let that go. Like what would be really, like you guys are such an independent go-getter sign. Like what I feel like is important for you is to get like your own, the Hermit, like your own sense of self-validation. Like knowing that you're good without like needing to have someone else make you feel like you are. And I can almost hear all the Aries right now like pushing back, like, no, I don't need anybody, like I'm great and I know I'm great, like I don't need validation. But I think you do. Like this is to me right now, like the Seven of Wands, like all these wands are just like people. Right? This is almost like this guy is keeping these things close to him that he also still has to, in a weird way, fend off. Does that make sense? Like why are you keeping these things close to you if you just have to like fight with them all the time? Validation, like it makes you feel popular, it makes you feel strong, but like, is it honest, Aries? Like, are you just wasting your energy? Like the Six of Swords, like this implies here that there's like troubled waters that are being left behind. Yeah, you're moving someplace better, but like again, the implication is that you're coming from someplace like rough. And this is like Aries doing that like soul searching that I was talking about. That just like real solid introspection where you take account for everything, count of everything, and like get real, Aries. Like you're not typically the best sign at like taking criticism, so it behooves you to like at least be able to take your own, you know, not like beating yourself up, but like having the skill to say like, this is where I think I'm weak and need to work on it. And like, remember like I was just talking about how there's this potential for love and fulfillment? Like that's what the Ten of Cups here is showing. Like this, so we start with like the Ace of Swords, which is like, this is simultaneously a call to be honest, but also like that you have this weapon, like you can fight if you want to. But like, look at the transition, right? You go from like the Seven of Wands to the Hermit. And then on the other side of that is this, the Ten of Cups. Like, do you see this way, rather? Do you see how it transitions here? From this nonsense to like getting away from all this craziness and being this guy, being the Hermit, having a little solitude, having a little reflection and introspection, and then like, what do you get? Like the best, most amazing emotional like this feels to me like a relationship too. Like you could have a better relationship waiting for you at the other end, or just a relationship period that makes you happy. But like, Aries, you have to find some way to put the ego aside. You have to. Like, I was talking to Aquarius. I go to meditation, and one of the things that I love that my meditation guide says in a lot of the meditations is to experiment with the idea. And the reason I love that so much is because it really, when you frame it like that, like you really are giving yourself permission to just like think way outside the box and to like let things come to you that maybe you wouldn't normally, under like the most conscious control, like wanna think about, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you experiment with the idea, there's nothing at stake. It's just an experiment. And if it doesn't work out, you reject it and let it go and move on. So like get into that headspace where you're like, hey, this isn't working out. I never considered the possibility that like I'm doing something wrong, for instance. Just as an example. Like, let me consider that I'm doing something wrong. What would that be? Right? Or let me consider like or alternately like I've been taking all this responsibility onto myself. Like, let me consider that this other person is actually the problem. And it's not like that clear, like if you're in a relationship issue, like one person is wrong or the other, but like it brings you to a more balanced place where you're seeing it more clearly because you're open to all the possibilities and all the perspectives. And I think Aries, if you do that, if you just like open your mind to whatever situations are causing you these troubled waters and say like, let me start thinking of new possibilities, you know, let me start considering things I didn't want to consider before. Because what's coming up for a lot of signs too is like creativity in Libra, right? Like expanding your ideas, expanding like what you think is you're capable of, or like what's possible. And for one path here, we have the King of Swords. Like, so a lot of swords, right? Like we started with the Ace of Swords, we have the Six of Swords, and then we have the King of Swords, right? So this is great for Aries because they're not fire signs, but they're like very active. You know what I'm saying? Like movement based. So the King of Swords for me is kind of like that, like honesty put into action, right? That like I'm gonna consider every and anything, and it's gonna make me powerful, and to be able to like act like swift and strong. Like this is such. I did a reading earlier for Pisces, and they got the Queen of Swords, right? And the Queen of Swords is also very like in her head, analytical, like can act swiftly and harshly and justly. But to me, this is such like the Aries version of that one. Like a little harder, a little like fucking ambitious as fuck, and just like a bright burning fire that isn't only gonna like act on the truth, but it's gonna like burn the whole shit down, like we talked about last reading, right? And interestingly enough, like I kind of like that for you guys. You know, like a lot of times I think Aries needs to temper themselves, and they usually do, but I kind of like this, like using that fire and that energy to like change your life and create something like new for yourself that's honest. Like this is like really empowering energy to me right now. Like the best of that Aries like fight is here. Usually the King of Wands I feel like is a little harsh, a little draconian, but like that's the right energy for you guys, I think. Like that's he has like the Aries fire and the spirit in him, and that what makes him like less of just like the Aries cerebral like King of Swords who just like cuts bitches without caring. Like it almost has more of a purpose. And the purpose is yourself. It's your own liberation. It's your own freedom. Right? Like that's what honesty does. Look, the Six of Swords. The planets is a Mercury and Aquarius. Like, talk about honesty. Talk about being real. Right? Like, the combination of Mercury and Aquarius is just like speaking your truth. Like living so hard in like the reality of a situation. Right? Mercury communicates. Aquarius is like very clinical and logical and rational. So you put those things together, it's like you're understanding what you need to get away from it. Like you're navigating yourself away from dark waters into better place. Because your mind is sharp and it's clear and you're being real. The other side we have the Chariot. So, hard to dispute like that necessarily this is like a better or worse path than the King of Swords, right? Because you still have that like forceful movement like in both of these cards. And I'm going to take a leap here, Aries. I'm going to take a leap here and say, like, I still want this to be you. The Chariot, yeah, it's powerful. It moves forward. It's balanced. It's centered. Like, never ever have I seen this as anything, like, negative. Like, even if it's reversed, it's still, like if these energies are blocked a little bit, it's still very, like, kind of promising, right? Because even if you're unbalanced, like it's saying, like with balance you'll find movement and momentum. But sometimes these paths aren't one or the other, but sometimes it's like there's one that's more of an immediate call, if that makes sense. Like this is ultimately in a good way where you want to end up, but right now I don't feel like this is there. Like the energy that makes this move isn't there. So, like, if I did read reverse, maybe it would come up reversed in the way I'm seeing its energy, right? But, like, with the context here, which is why I don't, like, I like to look at all the cards and pick up what they're saying. Hold on. Because now I'm looking, I see, like, we have the Seven of Wands, right? And the Hermit. And 10 of Cups, which are all like no, I can't. I'm just gonna go with it. Like I feel like this is right. I was gonna take it back because I feel like, you know, the Hermit is a little calmer and peaceful, and the 10 of Cups is a little bit more of an emotional card. So Maybe like it's a watery card which relates to the chariot. It's like the card of Cancer, right? But again, like, this is like what's waiting. The King of Swords, guys. I still want you all to like. I still want you all to like kind of be a little fierce about it. To be a little ruthless. I feel almost a little uncomfortable saying that because like you don't know how someone could take that to an extreme. Like that's the danger of the King of Swords, right? Is like that cold and clinical, like gonna fuck shit up and do my thing because I'm the king, like taken to the extreme is like an unjust ruler, someone who just like massacres people, right? Because like he wants more resources. So he's like lost that human heart. But this is like not matching my energy for you. Like I don't think that Aries should be calm. Like you have to be centered, you have to be grounded. Like you can't be, you can't be an asshole, Aries. I'm gonna say that to you like every time I am like pushing you to be an Aries. Like don't be an asshole. Like be that calm, still center for yourself. And how do you do that? Like you get honest. Look at the bottom of the deck. What was I saying earlier about the Seven of Wands? How it was like very much like the Eight of Swords, but a little different. Like at the bottom of the deck, we have the Eight of Swords. Like just no honesty. Like not like just confusion and chaos and like where's the truth? Why are you lying to yourself? Like get over it, Aries. Stop being dishonest. Like it's making me a little annoyed. Which is weird, because this is a video. No, but seriously, like I guess maybe because I'm a Gemini, and for us, like introspection and perspective is like a little more natural, and being vulnerable with that information is a little more natural to us. But like I'm loving this Aries energy. And it's not like an Aries card, it's an air card. But I'm loving that for you right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be vulnerable, Aries. Like, vulnerable with yourself. That doesn't mean you have to be like a whiny little bitch. That just means like being emotionally honest. You know, the last time I said to an Aries like to be a little vulnerable, that's exactly what I said. Oh, like, you want me to just sit here and cry my face off? Like, no, that's not what being vulnerable is. Of course, that's the way an Aries would see it, right? Because to you, being vulnerable like sounds weak. There's a lot of strength in vulnerability. I said this to Leo, and I think this is coming up for the fire signs during the new moon because something very similar with Sagittarius came up, where it's just about accepting things and being vulnerable and being open and just letting things transpire. Like, there's a strength in vulnerability. It means that you're like grounded in who you are and you're comfortable and confident in that. So who gives a fuck what someone else is going to say about it? Like, that's what I was saying about like the whole ego thing and like needing validation. Like, you have to start being your own validation, Aries. And in an honest way, not just like I'm the boss so I know the best thing to do all the time. Like, that's the wrong way to be a leader, right? To just not have to hear what anybody else has to say about it. Like, beautiful. Six of Wands. This is where you're headed, right? Like, look at you with your glory. I think this came up for you last reading. Like, you get the Six of Swords, and like, this is where we end up at the Six of Wands. It's beautiful. It's like why I feel so riled up right now, because like, this is what's possible, and like, I know it and you know it. But you have to know it in like a real way, not just in the like, I'm the best, I'm the shit, because I say I am. Like, being in touch with your weaknesses will make you a stronger person, because you'll know how to protect yourself in those areas, right? Or like, make up for it some other way, right? Like, if you just stay ignorant to your weaknesses and ignorant to like the yucky things you don't want to think about, like, you're just making yourself vulnerable in the bad way, where you're like susceptible to like harm or damage, or like, you know, like, look again, like, look what's waiting there, Aries. Four of Wands, peace, comfort, stability to me, right? Like, that's what I'm seeing. Like, this is the guy getting to this place. Like, that's up there on the mountain that he's rowing towards, right? Like, calm waters. And now we're getting that fire. Wands. Wands. Like, if you have to like do it somewhere, like in a journal or like a piece of paper that you just like are gonna burn, like, just let yourself be painfully like real about what you need to get away from and what's hurting you and what these swords are. Like, are you feeling these swords in you, Aries, and like, you're not being honest about like, ooh, this person is making me feel bad, or ooh, this job is making me feel bad, or all these things are making me feel bad because I'm just not going to show it because I don't feel bad. What do you mean? This is so Aries, right? It's like, I'm not sad, I'm angry. What are you talking about? I'm not hurt, I'm mad. Two of Pentacles as the final outcome, like, just so much, like, this is standing in your truth. This is like being rooted in reality, right? Like, we have the Jupiter in Capricorn, expansiveness and abundance in like a real material stable way. Like, you're not on water anymore. You're not like fighting this battle anymore. You're here. You're stable, you're secure with these people, with your family, with your loved ones. Right? The Fool at the bottom of the deck. Like, he just accepts everything and just goes with it. Doesn't question it. He's led by this pure sense, this instinct, this like very pure, like unadulterated joy, like fire. Some people say this card is Aries. Like, are you capable of this, Aries? Are you capable of just like that lack of control? Do you know, can you do this? And I don't mean that to be condescending, like, it's almost like I'm asking you to do it, right? Like, can you just let go? And can you just accept things as they are? Like, take things at face value for a while. Don't make excuses for people. Don't make excuses for yourself. Like, be gentle with yourself, but don't make excuses. Stop telling yourself fake stories. Like, you guys aren't like a fake news kind of sign. You know? Aries. But I think you guys are going to be great. Like, that's what comes up here, right? Like, after all that, like, be a little wild. Don't be a dick, but be strong, be powerful, be in charge, be like your Aries self. You know, if you like, you need to compensate for being vulnerable, like, go ahead. Like, it's fine. Just, like, don't get carried away. Right? Because we're still talking about, like, the new moon energy of Libra and balance. And I think we're still, as of today, in Libra season. Like, here's Scorpio, like, you're going to be able to get intense. Like, that's your other Mars sign, right? This is coming up a lot. Sleeping man. I interpret this in a lot of different ways, but right now, considering we had the Seven of Wands and the Eight of Swords and those themes that we were talking about there, this is like Aries not being woke to themselves. Like, you guys can be so good at, like, knowing what other people should do. You know what I mean? Like, wake up to yourself, Aries. Like, when was the last time you asked yourself, like, what would make you really happy? Like, in a real way. Like, visualize, like, what a perfect life is to you, and what does that feel like? What does that look like? What are you doing? Who are you spending your time with? What do you do for a living? What do you do for fun? Like, the seer, the owl, this is exactly what I'm saying. Like, imagine the possibilities. Imagine your future. Like, go deep and, like, really tap into who you are and what you want to do with your life and who you want to be. Like, open up that third eye, Aries. Have a little foresight. You know, invite that into your life right now. Invite that introspection. Invite that, like, diving deep down in the dark. But, like, you can still see and your eyes are wide open because you have the owl energy here, right? You can go deep. Scorpio is intense. They're ruled by Pluto also. Like, Pluto is a planet of depth and mystery. Like, that's what you're going to be dealing with in the next month or so. So go there. You have to go there. Like, if not, you're just going to stay stuck. That's what, like, I'm feeling with the chariot again, is like the dishonesty, or like not seeing things for the way they are, being totally brutally truthful with yourself, is like mud on these tires, and like you're stuck in it and you can't go forward. The Phoenix. So I don't need to explain to you what the Phoenix is, right? It's all about rebirth and renewal. But specifically, this card is about, like, processes, right? Like, it's not just about the idea of the Phoenix rising from the ashes. It's the actual act of the Phoenix burning itself up. Like, it's a ritual, right? So that's what you're being called on to do. Like, yes, like, the idea of the Phoenix is important, but, like, the emphasis right now is on that burning yourself up. Like, putting yourself through that process that's going to make you come out on the other side renewed and refreshed and ready to go. A lot of signs, like, have been called to, like, do the work, right? Like, this moon is not giving things to people so easily. It's bringing gifts, but it's like you gotta earn it, right? But, and a lot of signs have been telling to do the work, but, like, to be honest with you, Aries, this is more, felt like to me, one of the more, like, intense ways of having to do the work. Like, it hasn't been that intense for any other sign. Like, I'm talking about burning yourself up, right? Other people, it's just about, oh, you have to, like, stay away from people, or, like, you have to do this inner work or whatever, like, but it hasn't been so intense as this, but, like, also rewarding. I want to say it was with Scorpio. Similar. Not this card, but, like, intense. And the last card we have is the challenge from the rabbit. Like, going through it, fighting, but, like, again, what I'm saying, like, it's not going to be easy. This is not easy. Right? Like, going here is not easy. But do you want to stay here? Isn't, like, going through this shit worth it when, like, the alternative is, like, staying there? When you have this waiting for you? Celebration and victory and joy and, like, your glory? And then, like, that beautiful Venus energy in Aries of the Four of Wands? Comfortable, happy, safe, secure, like warm fuzzies. Isn't this worth it? Like, isn't going through this radical transformation, like, worth it? Like, this is what this is saying to me. Like, what we're talking about, this honesty stuff, like, it's not small stuff. Like, we're talking possibly major changes in lifestyle, like where you live, where you work, like who you're with, like big deal, Aries, you know? This is a big deal. Not easy. But, like, I think you guys can handle it. But, like, do so with grace. Don't do it with, like, by being a dick. You know, like try to stay sweet. You guys can be very sweet. And very loving. Very loving, Aries can be. Bottom of the deck, Aries. The Wolf, the Teacher. So, this to me is sort of like, it can often represent like an actual person who is like playing this role for you in your life, you know, like guiding you. And what did I say about Aries last time? Like, sometimes you guys work really well when you have some kind of guidance. This is kind of, to me, pushing you towards like a relationship, but one that's like healthy and like going to move you forward. You know, someone who can be a sounding board. But, you know, the Wolf is also about like the community. And like, not just like a community, but like your like your soul family, like the people in life who you feel like the most connected to. And it's funny because when I was thinking about this reading, I thought about the fact that like Aries, you guys, like I said, you're not liars, and you can be very honest, but you can't be very honest sometimes, right? But like sometimes there are those people who Aries is very close to, who they will open up to. Like, find solace in someone whose advice you trust. You know, like ask a friend who you trust, or like a family member or someone, and just say, hey, like do you think that I'm doing the right thing here? Like, is there something I'm missing? I'm not totally satisfied and I don't know what to do, and like, what do you think? Hard for you, Aries, right? But I feel like this is you doing it. I feel like this is like that humbling of yourself, like what I was talking before about vulnerability. Like, it takes like openness to be part of a strong like pack of people, right? To be part of a pride, or not pride for wolves, pack. This is strong. This is like gonna help you accomplish this. Like, you're in the boat, you know the water's rocky, you need to get somewhere safer, just like get some good advice for yourself. Talk to people. But also like recognize that ultimately like this is you. This is like your innermost pure sense of like instinct and guidance and like ability to lead yourself. All right, Aries? So, I hope that was good. I hope you got something out of it. I hope like I can really see you guys like opening up and being powerful. I think you guys can be. You just have to be honest. Have to be honest with yourself. Even if it hurts. It should hurt. That means you're growing. That means you're changing. Right? So let it fucking hurt and don't be a little bitch ass about it. Because it's for your best. Love you, Aries. Good night.